Hi, everyone, and you're welcome back. Thank you so much for joining me today. Thank you so much, and welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much, everyone. On today's episode, if you follow me or if you're an OG, you know that I've deleted all my content a few months ago. And I know that everyone has their opinion. Everyone has been asking me. I mean, my friends and the people in my closest circle, they keep asking me, why did I stop creating content? Why did I do this? Da, 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 da. Today, I'm going to tell you the real reason and also what's ahead of me, with regards to content creation. On today's episode, not too much blabbing, right? And so let's just get right into it. To begin with, I think that everyone who has watched any content from me knows that I filmed about a lot of sensitive topics. Like, I poured out my heart, and it was not because I really wanted to, get sympathy, or I wanted to, put my business out there in that kind of way, right? Because I mean, with content creation, you kind of put your business out there anyway, but not that I was looking to, disgrace my family, as people make it sound. That was never the intention. The intention was to be as vulnerable as possible, just so that people understand or can relate to the fact that there are other people who share the same problems that they may have gone through, and it was just an opportunity to help, and also be, impact, the lives of people in my small way. What literally broke the back of the camel for me was that there's a gentleman that I had met on social media, right? We were friends. We were just friends, like nothing more. I never even saw this guy in person, right? So I remember that there was a time where we were having a random conversation, and he's a parent actually. So he had mentioned that he has watched my content, right? And that's what actually drew him to me, basically. And he felt like, as a parent, he can't imagine him watching his child talk about him in that manner, right? And for some reason, that day I was already emotionally, I was gone emotionally in my head and everything. And um, when he said that, he gave his honest reasons and whatnot. It's not because I liked him or anything. That's the reason why I listened to him. But at the time, I was already overwhelmed by myself. I was already overwhelmed by this whole experience. So much so that I felt like the best thing to do was to, just delete the channel. So just right after I had that conversation with him, I just went onto YouTube, and then I started deleting the content on there. And I must say that it was just years of compounded pressure, from outsiders, from people, and all of that. And I have come to learn that really and truly, you really need some level of resilience and, shutting of ears in order to be able to get rid of people's opinions, right? Not that they don't matter, but you need to be mindful as to what you're choosing to listen to, right? Or yeah, basically that. So that's how I started deleting the channel. And I remember that in the moment that I was deleting the channel, I had I had feelings. I felt things. I felt like you're making a mistake. I felt like, again, I also felt like, yeah, fine, mistake, but yeah, let's get it done. But one of the biggest emotions that I think I felt was all the work that I had put in over the years. Because at this point, it was about 3 years or 4 years at this point, and I know what it takes. I know that it takes dressing up, it takes creating content, like writing it down, researching, reading a Bible. It was a lot of work, and so I think that that's what shook me a bit. Shook me a bit. I felt like, ooh, it's painful that I have to lose all this just because of the things that I'm surrounded by, or the noise that I'm surrounded by. So I mean, basically, that's what led to me actually deleting it. Not that that was like, it wasn't like a singular thing that made me make that decision. There were a lot of things that led to that day. So I mean, basically, that's what happened. And then I deleted the content, right? And then I felt all those emotions. I also struggle with the idea of being vulnerable. Being vulnerable is actually harder than we think it is. Being able to bear out your soul, being able to remember certain things that maybe made you cry or made you upset or made you look down on yourself. Remembering those things are actually not that easy, right? And so you need your mental health, to be intact to be able to do these things. Um, I believe that people are graced for that. People are graced for bearing out their souls and not losing themselves. But if you don't have that grace, it can be daunting, right? And so for that, it was also very difficult, bearing out your soul and and all of that. And again, of course, the criticisms were also a big problem and all. But in all of it, I must say that there were also some great benefits to this whole experience, right? The first thing would be confronting things of the past that were still haunting me. In as much as it's difficult to relive certain experiences in your mind, it's also beneficial when you relive those experiences in order to help yourself heal. Because truth of the matter is that whatever you don't confront, you can't heal. If you don't look at the things like at those things in a different perspective, but you keep burying it, you would only struggle in your mind. You understand? My very good friend taught me something that I'm very good with blocking, cutting things off, people off. I don't struggle with those things, right? Because you will not come and kill me in my mind, right? But but I remember my very good friend told me just yesterday, actually, just yesterday, where she was telling me that um you know, dealing with the issue is much more important than just cutting people off. You understand? Or cutting things off. When things happen to you, you're supposed to sit with it, think about it, find ways to actually react in a better way when it comes to problems like that. But cutting it off makes it look like you just nip it in the bud, and then just move on with your life. But that would also create a repetitive cycle. You'd have to relive those experiences again, and it will keep damaging you. And certainly nobody wants to do that. It wasn't all bad reliving those, painful experiences in my mind. It was not that bad, to be very honest. It really wasn't. So that's for that, I'm truly thankful for that opportunity to have, identified certain things and started working on them, and speaking up about them. That gave me a lot of relief. So that's one. And so an example would be why I struggled with rejection a lot. I could be in the talking stage with somebody, right? Or I could be friends with somebody, and then they reject me in a way, right? Maybe not, of course. I'm not, when I talk about rejection, I'm not talking about the fact that maybe they declined an offer or they declined to do something with me. That's child's play. I'm talking about where they start avoiding you based off of maybe a bit of a hitch or a problem that you may have had, which probably only needed talking, right? But they reject you, or maybe you are in a relationship with somebody, they broke your heart and all of that. I realized that I saw it as rejection, right? And it hurt so much. But I also had to sit and think of the fact that where is this really coming from? And I understand that, I have been through a lot of, or I've dealt with abandonment issues. Nothing dramatic, not that my parents went to drop me in a dump site. That's not what I'm saying. But, there are abandonment issues where, people don't show up for you when you'd want them to, or you'd expect them to. And also, it puts you in a position where once you have the slightest feeling that somebody is abandoning you, you internalize it and all of that. But I've had to learn that, bruh, people make their decisions, but it doesn't change who you are, or it doesn't make you any different. I'm still a work in progress, just like anybody else. Nobody has arrived. No one arrives in this, in this life. But I think that I learned. I really did learn so much in that season. So that would be a great example. Basically, the way forward is that I'm going to still create the content. It's just that I'm not going to talk about self-esteem challenges, right? A few days ago, I watched Bishop Oyedepo. blessing his daughter, who had just turned 40. If you know her, Love Oga Oyedepo, right? Oyedepo Oga. And he said something that was so profound. Like, I thought it was amazing. He said, life is about making contributions, right? And not about acquiring possessions. And I thought that, ooh, amazing stuff, you know? I thought it was amazing because I believe that too. I believe that making contributions, making impact, and sharing our lives, in a, of course, in a reasonable way, being very pragmatic about it, right? Sharing your life and making sure that other people are blessed by that, so that people don't make the same mistakes that you've made, and even if they do, they have a certain perspective, with regards to you know their life, basically. And of course, I've always been passionate about young girls because I wish that I had certain things when I was younger. And I'm talking about people advice and leadership in some ways. And so if five girls or five boys or five young men or whoever could learn something, or even a parent could learn something that they could teach their child, that would be a huge fulfillment for me, right? So I mean, going forward, there, you know what? I always joke with my friend that I have stories for days. Hey, God, I have stories for days. So many experiences that some I wish I didn't go through them. Some of them too. Yeah, it's okay that I went through them because it has made me who I am today. It gives me great joy to want to share that with the world and with people that would care to listen, basically. And so I'm looking forward to sharing many stories, especially the ones that I can speak from. Back in the day, people would say things like, "You're not a parent. You don't have the right to say this. You don't have the right to do that." I believe that God can give wisdom to even the person who hasn't particularly experienced something in real life. That's my personal belief, right? But of course, there's also an aspect where you really need to experience certain things in order to be able to speak on certain things, right? And I believe that those conversations would be edifying to a lot of people, would help a lot of people, especially being that every year in, year out, people are leaving high school to come into uni, people are leaving uni into the workspace and all of that, right? Personally, I have learned so much through content creators, Tosin Alabi, Chidima Ome, like so many amazing content creators. Because of their content, I have perspective, I have knowledge, I have wisdom on so many things that I probably would have never, experienced. And so, to be very honest, one of the things that I'm very grateful for in this generation of mine is the fact that I have the internet where I'm able to watch somebody in Croatia or in Pakistan or in Nigeria or wherever, and they could just impact my life even without meeting them in person. And so, I mean, we're going to talk about so many things: sexual harassment in the workplace, work life balance, like, I mean, being a younger woman, right? Why you need to take certain things seriously, why you need to push yourself and all of that. Because I made a lot of mistakes when it came to this life, right? I mean, in my 20s and all of that. And till today, I'm paying for some of those mistakes, right? And so on today's episode, hopefully you learned something and you also have a better understanding of why I had to delete the channel. I pray that you would, relate to it. You'd be able to learn something as well. And hopefully, I pray that you would also share your ideas, what kind of content that you think I should create, and all of that. And I'm sure that it will be an enjoyable one. And so I look forward to your comments. You're welcome back in the comment section, and any ideas or any thoughts that you may want to share down below. And thank you so much for watching, guys. But before you leave, please like, share, subscribe, and share with a friend, basically, and comment, leave a comment. And hopefully, I will see you in the next one. Mwah. Thank you so much. Bye.